Riverside.
And just like that, it's great to be back. It's the 4th&1 podcast, live from Lancaster Lidditz, and I guess Lebanon County, Pennsylvania. Instagram.com/4th&1 or Instagram at 4th&1 podcast. It's your boy Admiral, you like that, aka self-nickname, aka the SEC can lick my nuts, sitting next to, as always, Captain Boring himself, Micaiah. Say hi before we introduce.
Hi before we introduce.
Thank you. We introduce Nazi FB insider Roberto, a.k.a. banned from Pokemon. I don't know. I didn't get that. Okay. Explain this. Robert sent me something. Someone got banned from Pokemon. Also, do you only get follow-up? Do you only get your news from Barstool Sports?
No. But they do tend to have the more unique stories, I should say. But I don't even remember his name, but the whole reason he retired was to go into the Pokemon card game, and now it just turns out that he's like scamming people.
Oh, nice. Some FTX action.
Blake Martinez is his name.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right.
I'm drinking
two
milk.
halves make a whole. You're drinking milk?
I'm drinking milk.
Oh, milk.
It's been a turbulent week here in college football. We obviously have Micaiah, how many days?
It is from today. Wow.
It's -2 from Sunday. It was 22 on Sunday. It's 20. You should
It's
know
20,
this. You
sure.
make us look bad. This is why we
Actually,
need.
it's got to be 23 because the first day's the 31st. It's
Okay,
23
fine. It was
days.
20. It was 25 on. Anyway, as I have to burp.
It's 20. It's what, 18 days?
It was great.
Should be 18, yeah.
Yeah, 18 days until week 0. So
That's what I
there's that.
meant. Who at this point? Week 0
Because
is week 1.
0 produces nothing.
Except there's
nothing good.
one good matchup that if I had my schedule open, I would know what it is, but I
There's
don't
no-
remember what
there's
it is.
not one
Isn't
good
it-
matchup.
Isn't it
There's not
Wisconsin,
one good-
Nebraska, or something like that?
No, isn't it Notre Dame Navy?
Yes, that would be quote unquote
No,
the good
there's another.
matchup.
There's
But
another
the
one.
spread.
It's overseas though, so I mean,
Oh, yeah, because last year's overseas game was just so exhilarating.
listen,
It's close enough.
Navy by 2 touchdowns. You're welcome.
They're going to not only cover the spread, they're going to turn around the spread on Notre Dame?
Yes.
Is that what you're... Okay, sure. Yeah,
Triple
yeah.
option.
Oh,
Yeah,
I'm
They
thinking
can barely put up 15 points a game.
I'm thinking the following Thursday, which is Nebraska, Minnesota, and Florida, Utah.
Yes, that is 23 days from today.
Got it.
Yes.
Hey, listen, it's so close that ESPN had finally put it back up on their website as one of the fast track options to drop down to.
Oh, well, hey, that is good. Yes, my wife calls me and Robert are having a sleepover in 23 days.
A bro over?
No, she calls it a sleepover. It's a sleepover.
Okay.
And she wants me to ask if Robert Mom knows that I'm sleeping over.
Ooh, I'll have to get on the horn.
Get her on the horn. Oh,
My mom says it's okay, but can you ask your mom?
Come after me. I'm a man. I'm 40.
Let's get into business. We bring Robert on because he somehow knows more than both me and Micaiah combined sometimes, and we like his opinion. It's normally good and spicy, and also he just has somehow called a lot of things to happen. One of the things that I want to say you predicted, but you at least had pretty early on, even before, was what happened really over the weekend, a little bit before, in news that the Washington and Oregon Yeah, I'm right. Are joining the Pac-12, joining the Big Ten next year. They're leaving the Pac-12, and the Big 12 has sniped Arizona, Arizona State, and Utah. They will be joining Colorado in 2024.
I'm just impressed that you actually got all the teams right on the first try.
And listen, I didn't even write them down.
Yeah.
That was
Right
out of
now,
memory.
we are on a hot streak. This is the first time in the 3-year history of this podcast that we actually started on time.
Yep.
And now you remembered all the teams without messing it up
There
one
it is.
time.
There it is. And also, as I'm fighting off a burp, I also nailed the intro, if I do say so myself. News obviously broke first of Oregon, Washington joining. Robert, what are you seeing? What does this mean really for the Pac-12? I guess Micaiah too, but I'm going to start with Robert. For the Pac-12, 108-year-old conference, was it just because no one stayed up late to watch football?
They were at a severe disadvantage of being on the West Coast and everything being aired so late for the East Coast. That was their biggest demise, and you can't blame any media outlet for not wanting to not waste the time to try and air any of those games or even try and deal up a mega contract with any of these teams, even when you have one team that's actually relevant.
How many years has the Pac-12 made the college football playoff? Oregon's the first. Oregon made
I
the
think
first.
that was it.
Washington made it 1 year, yeah? They got
the
clobbered
next
by
year.
Bama. Did Washington make
two.
it one? So two? Yeah. So the Big 12, Oklahoma made it, 3 times? Yeah. Three times,
looking.
one with Baker, one with Kyler, one with Jalen. Oklahoma made it twice. TCU made it twice. So the Big 12's made it at least four times, if not more. The Big 10's won a natty, made 3 more with Ohio State, and then Michigan's made 2 in a row. So the Big 10 is making, and then the ACC's got Clemson it's been dragging along, and then Florida State. So it's not only that people aren't staying up to watch the games, it's that they weren't a powerhouse of a conference because they weren't even making the college football playoff on a consistent basis.
I mean, well, yeah, that's also true. But how many times did you stay up to watch Oregon versus Washington State with an 11 p.m. kickoff?
Come on, dude. I made it maybe through the first quarter. I mean, yes, I get that played a factor, but let's not pretend like the Pac-12 was the SEC winning every other national title, and then all of a sudden it just folds because no one watches them late at night. Yeah, it has something to do with the quality of play.
You think it also deals with the recruiting aspect of it as well, where no one wants to go to Washington, going to LA, yeah, and then going just to California for the beaches, but no one really wants to go to Oregon. No one wants to really go to Washington. I mean, Utah's Utah.
you go full Utah and Utah.
Yeah.
No, you're right, because where's Washington State's campus? Like right on the border of Washington and Idaho,
Correct.
right? So it's literally in the middle of nowhere. No, you're definitely right that there are some disadvantage to it. I think a lot of factors played into it, but someone could have called this, I think, when Christian McCaffrey lost the Heisman race to Derrick Henry, right? Like Christian McCaffrey he broke Barry Sanders' records that were held forever, and yet he doesn't even come close to first place behind Derrick Henry. Yeah, nice 2,000-yard season and a natty, but, I mean, clearly the better player that year was Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah, I mean, they probably had almost everything possibly go wrong for them, whether it was statistically, geographically, just historically. It was almost set up to fail. It just took longer than what it should have.
And it's kind of weird to me because the Pac-12 used to be. I mean, they were never like a super powerhouse, but it was one of the big three. It was the Pac-12, the Big Ten, and the SEC. But then I guess when USC fell off, that kind of went away, and the Big 12 emerged behind Texas and Oklahoma. But But then all of a sudden, it was like the fourth best conference by far, and then the American produced Cincinnati, and the Pac-12 hasn't produced anyone since then. So you're like, well, are they 4 or are they 5? And then the Big 12 went out, and I give the Big 12 credit. Weren't we talking a little over a year ago that we thought the Big 12 would be the one to collapse first?
If I'll jump in there, we
Yeah.
were.
I mean,
we
there you
were.
go.
When they announced Oklahoma and Texas, which was 2 years ago, basically this podcast 2 years ago, we said, "Uh-oh, first goes Texas and Oklahoma, then goes Oklahoma State, then goes, and Big 12 went psych."
I found Barstool had a clip. They have a college football podcast, and it really annoys me, and I hate it, and I only listen to the clips of it because I hate the people on it.
Nice.
They said that the Longhorn Network actually started this downfall of conferences because the Longhorns were the first team to get their own network and get money off of their own network, and since they did that, then literally Alabama, Georgia, everyone else looks around and goes, well, why can't we do that? Why can't we make big money off of a TV revenue? So is that really where all this started with Texas, like in 2005?
I mean, it could be, because that's essentially the first media deal that started to shape the landscape of modern day college football, because everything now is just being driven by money and TV deals.
Yeah, obviously Apple TV is not getting their sports deal anymore with the Pac-12, and so Tim Cook is sent packing. What does this mean for the other conferences, specifically those who did not get to raid the candy store in the ACC and the SEC? Obviously Notre Dame's still up for grabs, and Robert, you said that they were pretty committed to not go to the Big Ten, which is just mind-boggling to me, but beside the point. What does this mean for those two conferences? Makai, we're going to start with you.
Well, the ACC is trying to get Cal and Stanford, which is just laughable because they're not going to bring, a home and home. Let's just consider a home and home between Clemson and Stanford as just the premier football game that's going to be on at 8 p.m., right? So that's not the case. So they're probably just trying to bring them on for academics. What it means for the ACC is they're next if they don't do something, because their TV deal is so trash, and I don't have the numbers on it, but Robert, it doesn't expire until after the Big Ten and the Big 12 and the SEC's new contracts expire. So that means that the Big Ten, Big 12, and SEC will get big money. They already got big money, just signed their big contracts. They will get them again before the ACC can even renegotiate theirs. So Florida State, Clemson, they're trying to leave because they want Longhorn Network money. I would assume that they would try to join the SEC, but there were talks of the Big Ten, and the Big Ten's just trying to have as many teams possible to beat the SEC. What it means for the SEC, you just keep standing pat, I think, and you just let
Fitzgerald or McAfee?
Fitzgerald, yeah.
Okay.
Because you just want to bully everyone you can, conference-wise, because you're just going to win the Natty no matter who's in there.
The TV deal for the ACC was signed in 2016. It goes through 2035-2036 season. $400 million in revenue annually for the ACC. For the media rights deal.
That's only 3 years of the Big Ten's contract.
Yeah.
Yeah. The hard thing with the ACC right now is Florida State and Clemson are the two that want to make the jump. The hard part is they essentially missed their window because if they want to join the Big Ten, now they have to take an even lesser share of what they would have if they would have been one of the first ones to jump. So then, because Oregon has to wait, I think, 5 years before they can at least get a full share, which means Florida State or Clemson, they would have to wait at least 5 years to get a full share, which means they're getting a less. They'd still probably get more than what they'd get at the ACC, but less than probably what they essentially won. So, I mean, for those schools, you might as well just sit and wait for the next year, so it's only 4 years, or try and bide your time and then try and make the jump for that new negotiation for the Big Ten or the SEC, just so you're not short, like changing each team that's going in. Because the Big Ten's eventually going to say, no, we don't want any more because we're not going to have the money to give the ones that we want to give the money, like Penn State, Michigan, Ohio State, the teams that have been here. Well, Penn State really hasn't been there that long, but the premier teams.
I agree. I also think that in order for the ACC needs to renegotiate with Notre Dame and try to get them in full time, and try to get a share of Notre Dame's NBC TV deal money. But here's the problem: the Big Ten just signed a TV deal with NBC, and so does NBC and Notre Dame. NBC look at Notre Dame and goes, "We'll give you even more money if you join the Big Ten. For your home games, we'll give you, 20% more than what we were if you join the Big Ten." So that's something I heard today, that Notre Dame has that negotiating power, or that NBC has that negotiating power. I also think that this is a big win for three conferences: the Sun Belt, Conference USA, and the Mountain West. This now all but guarantees them one spot that they can fight over. I think the Americans still kind of that, it's not group of five anymore, or whatever they call themselves, but the American is now definitely guaranteed a spot. I know that Cincinnati and Houston and USC left, but that's still a good conference. Tulane would have made the college football playoff with 12 teams. Now the Mountain West, Sun Belt, and Conference USA can fight over that final spot, and that might keep those kind of lower-ranking conferences around a little while longer, which I like the idea of.
Micaiah? Don't forget about the MAC.
That's true. I do forget about the MAC. Yeah, I mean,
you know who also we forget about, which is really funny. So I have, thanks to Wikipedia, I have the average attendance of each conference. The average attendance of a MAC in 2014 was 15,000. The average attendance of a Mountain West was 25,000. A whole 10,000 people more are more likely to show up to the Mountain West, which, Robert, I know we were talking about a little bit, could be a landing spot for the last couple teams over there in the Pacific Coastal Conference.
Yeah, I mean, they're in the position where you have to go somewhere. You have to do something, and the Mountain West might not be what they're used to, but like winning's not what they're used to either. So going to the Mountain West where they can get some more wins in and make themselves look better, whether it's just a facade or anything, but the better you can look right now, the better your bargaining chip can be, and plus it'll make the Mountain West look a little better too.
Sure, and they have some big, small names in there. Let's see. I'm sorry, I have to look up who is this? The MAC? Oh, they're not bringing anybody new in.
So the American, it's Charlotte, Eastern Carolina, FAU, Memphis, Navy, North Texas, Rice, SMU, USF, Temple, Tulane, Tulsa, UAB, and UTSA. Those are the American teams.
That's right.
And Tulane, they won the Cotton Bowl against USC last year, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They're a legit team. So all I'm saying is, this is and the Mountain West has Boise and Fresno in it. They have the Fighting Brady Hoax. They'll make a run, I'm sure. LOL.
Wyoming.
And And don't forget about, they have Wyoming, they have Air Force. Robert loves some good triple options, so maybe
Absolutely.
So, yeah, the smaller conferences definitely do win as long as the college football playoff doesn't change the wording and drop it down to 5 conferences instead of 6.
Yeah, and the Sun Belt has JMU, University Louisiana Lafayette. That's the Raging Cajuns, but Billy Napier really would carried that team.
App State, right?
App State,
Coastal.
Coastal Carolina. Yeah, Georgia State, Georgia Southern. One of those teams was good. They're both blue, and they both have like cats for their mascot. So I keep them.
Seems super good.
I mean, I'm not wrong about it.
Robert,
Go ahead. Go ahead.
we did super relatives. I don't know if you listened to last week's episode. We did super relatives last week. Okay, so I would just want some of your takes on these answers. Simeon, if I may just hijack the podcast here.
Go for it.
Okay, great. So the best uniform, I said Army Navy. What do you got?
Yeah, I mean, the fact that you don't know what it's going to look like until I think they release them the week before the game for that specific game. Those are my favorite uniforms. Whether it's the uniform, the helmet, and so yeah, Army Navy.
Most likely, or let's do this. Biggest disappointment this season.
Biggest disappointment.
Who will be the biggest disappointment is the better way of putting that,
okay.
so you know.
Like what
Alabama.
team, not player? Alabama.
Whoa.
Explain.
From what I saw in the spring game, they have a lot of things they need to figure out, and they have a very short amount of time. So if they lose anything more than one game for Alabama, that's a disappointment. If they lose 2-3 games, I mean, they very well could lose to Texas. If they can't win an SEC championship, that's already 2. I mean, 3 losses for Alabama. When was the last time that happened?
All right, and then
2008, I think. I don't know.
3 losses for Bama. Wasn't that 20?
It would have been Nick
2010,
Saban's second
2011,
year.
they played
Yeah.
Michigan State in the Capital One Bowl, and that was Mark Ingram. He was coming off the Heisman that year.
So like 12 years.
Yeah.
There's teams that haven't had more than 10 wins in 50 years.
There are some teams that haven't had 12 wins in 12 years. It's notoriously that bad. I want to ask this one.
Okay.
Coach most likely to get fired by week 5.
Yeah.
Jimbo.
Yeah.
Same answer.
It's Jimbo.
We almost called it the Jimbo Fisher Award, which is who's the most likely to be fired.
It will be next year for sure.
But here's, I said the most overhyped player is probably Kyle McCord, because Ohio State still has the best chance to make the college football playoff and win the national championship.
Yeah, I mean, but I'm not hearing much about Kyle McCord, though. What I'm hearing is how good their running backs are, Marvin Harrison and Buka, and I think Stover is still there. So I don't hear about them too much. The ones that I usually hear are Singleton from Penn State. I mean, JJ. JJ could be overhyped.
Yeah,
But, I mean, if you're talking about my prediction for him, he probably could be. Yeah.
I also put that so Texas A&M could be also the biggest surprise. They could go either way. They could be like they could get their coach fired by week 5, or they could make a run at a college football playoff spot just because, like, their defense wasn't half bad last year. Their problem was the offense. Jimbo's giving up play calling to a good play caller, but are they going to butt heads? I don't know. Biggest surprising team, and I need to preface this. A surprising team is a team that no one thinks is going to make the college football playoff that's going to make the college football playoff.
See, now that's kind of a tough one because I want to say Wisconsin
Okay.
because
Yeah.
they very well could make it because you only have to beat one of the big three in the Big Ten for them to win the Big Ten. And if they have one loss or go undefeated into the Big Ten championship, I mean, their biggest competitor is going to be Iowa. Then it's either Michigan, Ohio State, and Penn State. So I mean, they could easily get in.
What, you don't think Michigan State can get there?
No, but it's they have a good defense.
No, they don't. Michigan State doesn't even have a good
They
defense.
do have a good defense.
No, they don't.
It involves a helmet
Uh-huh.
and a walkway.
Oh, my gosh.
And
They have good
and an
they
assault
have-
charge.
They have a good defense of the tunnel.
They do a great job at defending that tunnel, man.
Tunnel defense, they are A+ at. Penn State's like a B-
They're
because
the
the entire team made it up the tunnel before they started fighting.
Okay, Robert, real quick. So, just Micaiah, for your sake.
Yeah.
The tough games on Wisconsin's schedule are Minnesota, the last game, and Ohio State, and maybe Iowa or maybe Nebraska, depending on how their season sparks out. Could go either way. Robert, can we get your picks? Because, we're only 26 minutes into this podcast. We want your picks kind of for, like, the final two of each conference, who they're going to play against, and who's going to be the winner. We're just going to kind of guess it out here. I'm not going to make you pick every single record of every single team because, that's difficult.
We did that to death already. People don't want to hear that again.
No, they don't. Let's go ahead, and since we're in the Big Ten, let's start with the Big Ten. You can also give a little bit of a synopsis if you want to. I'm not going to tell you. I'm not your dad,
I think the final two for the Big Ten will be I'm going to say it's going to be Penn State and Wisconsin. Like, those are going to be the two that are going to end up in the Big Ten championship.
And out of those two, who would you have winning?
Wisconsin.
And obviously that would be going to the playoff then probably
Right.
because, there's no way that a 2-loss Wisconsin team is getting in, and they technically, no, they couldn't. I mean, they could technically. Anyway, let's go over to the ACC.
ACC, I would go. I mean, the easy ones, I have to make sure they're not on the same side.
That's fair.
What are you doing? You guys could have kept going.
We did. He's
okay.
He's trying to figure out who's in the Atlantic and who's in the coastal of the ACC.
Oh, well, that'll be a great segment. People will be like, "Shut up, Captain Boring." Anyway, what's he trying to look up?
He wants to know who's in the Atlantic and who's in the coastal of, because he's picking the ACC.
Oh.
He picked. We're
Okay.
gonna come back to it. I
What-
realized
so-
it way too late. Go ahead.
Are they not breaking them up anymore?
No, I'm pretty sure. I'm fine.
No, aren't they a home away? Didn't they switch to that? I think you're right, Robert,
Yeah,
because I'm seeing
yeah.
the same thing you are.
Okay, then. it'd
Oh,
be
that they
Florida
just
State and
that
Clemson.
they're doing the top two. Okay, Florida State.
Yeah.
Clemson. I didn't know that.
I think a home and home actually. Sorry, is that what it's referred to when you
I think so. Yeah.
you play 2 years and then you have one game at home and then they have one game at home. Okay, go back. Obviously, Florida State, Clemson. That's a pretty good. We don't need to unpack that. We unpack that in our ACC. Go back here real quick, because Micaiah made me pick the Big Ten. And granted, I gave Ohio State 3 losses, which means Penn State would only have 2 to Michigan's 0, is what I said. Yes, I probably jinxed them. It's okay. Harbaugh suspended 4 games anyway. How do you have Penn State basically winning now? They have to go undefeated. Isn't Franklin good for at least 2 losses a season?
He is, but I think this year they have enough to kind of get by all of Franklin's really poor judgment decisions. Um, it's one of those things where Penn State, Ohio State, and Michigan could all have one loss, and they all could lose to each other in a weird way. But I think if that happens, then Ohio State technically gets to move on. But if Penn State can beat Michigan, because they get Michigan at home, and then I think they have to travel to Ohio State. But I think they get Ohio State early enough that they still might be trying to figure everything out.
Well, they had some nice warm-up games against West Virginia, Delaware, and UMass.
Listen, West Virginia plus the points, ladies and gentlemen. West Virginia plus the points.
I don't think you're wrong. It was one of those things. It's Ohio State and Penn State. I said you could flip either one. I don't think Ohio State's going to fumble the bag that much. I think I had them losing, though, to Ohio State. I think I had them losing to Michigan and Iowa, actually, or something like that. Speaking of Iowa, do you think the insertion of Eric All and Cade McNamara are what they needed in order to actually have an offense?
I mean, they needed yes and no, because they also need to call passing plays in order to utilize Eric All and McNamara. But I think it's definitely a good start because now they actually have somewhat of a threat instead of we're just going to run the ball 40 times and then punt.
And then play defense.
Yeah.
I will make you make one because they're an independent school. I need the final record for Notre Dame, and I can give you their schedule if you want to do it that way.
Yeah, go ahead. Hit me with it.
All right. Navy. Win or
That's
loss?
a win. That's a win.
Okay. Yeah, Tennessee State, I'm assuming, is a win.
Yep.
Yeah. NC State.
That's a win.
Central Michigan, win.
Win.
Ohio State.
So catching them on week 5. I think they'll beat Ohio State this year.
It's at home. Yeah, that's a good
Yeah.
pick. It's at home. Okay.
At Duke.
Win.
Louisville.
Win.
Home against USC.
If it's a night game, it's a win. If it's a 3:30 game, it's a loss.
It's a 7:30 p.m. game, so that's a
win.
win. 3:30 p.m. against Pittsburgh.
That would be the game that they would drop.
Yeah, it would. It would, wouldn't
That
it?
would
Yeah.
be the game they would lose.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So they're 8-1.
Especially because at Clemson the following
Yeah.
week.
Yeah. Or they're at Clemson.
Yes, they're at Clemson.
Night game.
To be decided.
Okay. Night. I'll just say it's a night game. They're
It's
going to
on.
lose that one.
I just realized it's on ABC. It's going to be the.
Yeah,
it's going to be the game
a
of the week.
nighttime. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they'll lose that one at Clemson.
Especially if they're 8-1 at that point in time.
Yeah, Wake Forest, Stanford.
No, win both of those.
Yeah, 10-2.
10-2.
Isn't that what you had them at, Mackay?
I had them at 8-4.
Oh,
I said that Ohio State was going to get them, and that like NC State or another stupid team's going to get them. Just because it's a new offense again this year. Like, Tommy Rees did the best with what he could last year, but it wasn't very good. Now Tommy Rees is gone. It's still a defensive-minded head coach. Defense is going to be excellent, but new offensive coordinator, new quarterback, one of your running backs transferred, good offensive line, new tight ends, just learning curve stuff. So,
out of the Sun Belt Conference, who do you have winning?
Out of the Sun Belt, I'm going to go and say that James Madison goes for the repeat, even though they technically weren't eligible last year.
They kind of fell apart there at the last couple of weeks. I like it. I just had to throw a weird one in there. But they are in a not conference, what division with Appalachian State, Coastal Carolina, who's isn't going to be what they were this year. They lost their main guy on defense to Michigan. Georgia and Southern, Georgia State. Oh, sorry. One's the Eagles, one's the Panthers. They're still both blue, though. Obviously James Madison. Marshall, who had a good team last year, and the Old Dominion Monarchs, who are good for at least one upset every half decade. So, you never know. You never know with these teams.
The East Division of the Sun Belt is like the East Division in the Big Ten, because this is the West. Arkansas State, Louisiana, South Alabama, who's USM? Southern Miss, Texas State, Troy, and Louisiana Monroe.
There are 3 okay teams in that, and that's Louisiana, South Alabama, who had a good season last season, and Troy.
3 okay teams. Your definition of okay is like,
my definition of okay is for the Sun Belt.
Picking a girl when it's last call.
Okay, we didn't do the SEC yet. This is the tough one that we had a lot of fun with. At least I did when we did the conference breakdown.
The SEC, I'm going to say that it is Tennessee and LSU.
Oh, you suck. Come on, dude.
Dude, Tennessee is not going to... They're going to, lose 5 games this year, I swear.
Tennessee's defense is so bad.
Tennessee,
so bad.
LSU.
No, I'm with you with LSU. I think LSU makes a run at a national championship, and I hate to say that because I hate that school. Something about the colors and the Tigers and the 2 goalposts.
Go Tigers.
And the Go Tigers guy and spelling
Ed Oregano.
And spelling go or the O as O-U-X. That's so dumb. Come on. Be better. But Tennessee, come on. I'll be singing Rocky Top if they do that because I like that song, but no, it's going to be Georgia. Georgia walks all over everyone. Georgia can show up with their B team and beat everybody.
I mean, I understand what you're saying, but I'm going to tell you that you're wrong. I think that division, Florida, Georgia, Tennessee, that I think is going to be the wild card of the SEC. Because I think you're going to have where Georgia is going to still be really good, but I think they're going to drop 1 or 2. Florida's going to bounce back from last year, and they're going to lose 1 or 2. Tennessee's going to lose 1 or 2, and it's kind of like that hodgepodge, who's going to be the one to go. And I think Tennessee gets the nod, and then LSU's in either 1 loss or LSU just throttles them in the SEC championship.
Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, Robert is normally a little more emotional than this when I get him going, and I'm trying to get him going a little bit more, so we'll have to see if I can bring him out. But right now, he's being pretty polite. I see with what you're saying. Get out of here. What do you think of South Carolina, though?
That's a good question.
South Carolina is going to be the team that is going to be above average, but they're still not going to get the games that they need to get. They're still going to drop the big games, but they're going to be competitive enough that it's you're still engaged in the game. Spencer Rattler should still put on a really good show. I just don't think overall that they have the team yet.
I have them at 8-4, and I think those 4 losses were losing to the big boys on their schedule.
Tennessee, Florida, Clemson, Texas A&M, or North Carolina. Don't you have them randomly losing to North Carolina, Micaiah?
Well, that's week 1, and and I said that's kind of the toss-up for me. But who has the better quarterback? I'm being told it's Drake May. Drake May is the better quarterback. So I don't really know. Let's talk about those Tar Heels for a second, Robert. Drake May, I thought he was in a great air raid system, and he improvised a lot, but North Carolina, I don't get what's so special about Drake May and how they're a national title contender at North Carolina is they still can't play defense 2 years in a row.
So North Carolina looked really good for the first 6 weeks of the season, and then, because that's when Drake May was in that Heisman contention, and then it was the last 4 or 5 weeks of the season, it was a totally new quarterback out there. He didn't look like, I don't know if comfortable is the right word, but like it was not the quarterback that was there before. And if that's the quarterback that comes this year, then they're in a lot of trouble. And I mean, their defense gave up a ton of points last year, and they already lost Storm Duck,
Duck McStuffins?
Duck McStuffins.
McStuffins.
But their helmets are cool.
They
Like,
do
they
have
got
nice
a big
colors.
NC on them.
No, the little like stripe that they have down the thing that has the pattern thingy mabobber. I forget what
That's
it's
what we're
called.
going with is cool.
Okay.
What do
right.
you think? What do you think of the mirrored helmets? I love the mirrored helmets.
NC's mirrored helmets?
Yeah, North Carolina's mirrored helmets.
You know who has a dumb mirror helmet? Notre Dame. Who has, okay, Robert, since I cut you off, who has the best standard helmet in FBS football?
I already know Makai is not going to agree with me on this one, but I like Maryland's helmet with like the flag, where it's like different pieces of the flag, the whole thing.
I don't know how he'd be able to disagree with you. It's a great. Oh, I see. We're sharing screens.
We're sharing screens. So let's just rate these helmets because these are the UNC helmets through the year. I didn't want this whole thing. I wanted one picture. So Robert, scale of 1 to 10. What do you think of this one? Oh,
I mean, it's an 8. I like when they do anything with like the flags on their helmets.
yeah, I absolutely hate it. It's garbage. It's like a 2.
Yeah,
No,
that makes
that's.
sense.
I agree with Robert. You are totally wrong. That is a 2. That is. I don't like their regular helmets.
No, I think
don't-
those are just.
This is the one I'm talking about. This chrome one. Ah,
With the foot? What's with the foot? What is this?
Tar heel.
Podiatrist month?
it's a tar
I
heel.
mean,
Oh,
I
Thought
mean,
I could do
the
without the
mirror
foot
looks
for
not
sure.
bad. Yeah, the foot is what really. Because then I feel like I'm like at work, and I don't know how the foot goes, and
That's
What-
an injury to that area. That's a 4-hour surgery that you got to take X-rays through. Yeah, it's a whole thing.
I thought a Tar Heel was like a ram.
I'm surprised it hasn't been canceled for secretly being some derogatory term for slaves.
To call someone a Tar Heel, a rosin heel, was to imply that they worked in a lowly trade. During the Civil War, North Carolina. Hold on.
He has to read 3 words at a time. He doesn't know how to read any more than that.
During the Civil War, North Carolina's soldiers flipped the meaning of the term and turned it into an epithet, that word, into an accolade. Oh,
What
that's
word?
stupid writing. They called themselves Tar Heels as an expression of state pride. Others adopted the term, and North Carolina became widely known as the Tar Heel state. That's dumb. North
It's
Carolina.
negative
So-
and turned it into a positive, I guess.
You
So
still lost
glad
the war.
we read that.
Get wrecked.
Simeon, Robert, I have BYU going 3-9. Simeon thinks that I'm wrong. Simeon thinks that BYU's like an 8-4 or 9-3 type team.
The hard thing is these teams that, and it's their first year in a conference, for whatever reason, they tend to do exceptionally well, and I don't understand why. Because in the next 2 or 3 years, they're not good. So I would say 8-4, 9-3 is what they'll probably sit at.
Ha. Ha. Hey, Robert, how good's Colorado going to be this year?
Oh,
Colorado is going to be lucky if they can even get 3 wins.
You guys are idiots.
at least I'm saying 5. At least I'm saying on the verge of a bowl game. At least I'm giving them 5. Oh, we're not idiots. I can't wait to do over-unders next week. Everyone tune in next week. We're doing season win totals. Oh, it's going to be so brilliant. Simeon, there's no way that they're winning 8 games.
Gosh, I actually have
Are they
to
playing
go.
Cal 8 times?
They playing Northwestern? They going to go get bullied at Northwestern?
Northwestern would win that.
Northwestern would win that.
They would
yeah,
win.
yeah,
Listen,
yeah.
all they have to do, I'm pulling it up.
All
right?
they have to
TCU,
do.
Nebraska, Colorado State. They can win 2 of those. They can win 3 of those 3 games if
No,
TCU
they
falls
can't.
apart. Yes, they can.
No.
Not with that offensive lineman.
Dude, TCU, they're going to beat TCU. I've already told everybody that. They're beating TCU, but there's no way they're beating Nebraska.
They're more like they're more likely to beat Nebraska than they are to beat TCU.
No, that's not true at all.
I mean, they're more likely to beat Colorado State than either of the other two. So
Oh
I mean,
my God.
I'm more likely to beat Colorado State. I
Didn't
just
Michigan
think it's a
have
much,
like
I
12
watched,
sacks against
I
them
watched
last
the
year.
highlights, and just like I'm sure both of you did of the spring game. And by the way, the only spring game that I was actually impressed with was Tennessee's spring game.
Oh my gosh, you're still on Tennessee.
No, I'm just saying. The spring games are dumb, okay? They're dumb. They're pointless. It's a way for the people to get more money and the kids to show off a little
I
bit
think spring
and look
games are
stupid.
free, aren't they? Spring games are typically free admission. So it's really
Deion's
just
the coach now,
oh,
and they still
oh
can't
my-
pay him.
Still can't pay him. Well, he's not going to have a foot pretty soon, so what does it matter?
It happens, you know. Listen, first you lose a foot, then you lose some teeth.
Then you lose the conference.
And then you just lose the program. Lose the conference.
Speaking of the Pac-12, we didn't do your picks. Who are you picking to win the Pac-12?
I am going to say that I think USC wins it this year. I think this is their best shot to do it. And I think they have a very large chip on their shoulder to win this year.
Why everyone hating on Washington? I don't understand. This
I'm
coach
not
has
hating
only
on Washington. All I just said was that USC was going to win. Washington could finish second.
Yeah, well, second is where they're gonna finish. Behind them forever and ever. Like give them some props.
Yeah,
Can we
Michael
go
Penix Jr. is a very good quarterback, and he's probably going to finish at least third at the least in the Heisman voting.
Who's your Heisman winner?
I really don't want a quarterback to win it. So I really don't want to pick a quarterback, so I'm going to pick Marvin Harrison.
Oh,
But
okay, all right.
I mean,
Yeah.
if you're going to pick one.
I picked Penix just because of that offense. But Kevin DeBoer, he's only lost like 8 games as a college head coach. I know people are tired of hearing that, but like that says something, right? And he's
How
about
can
to
people
beat
be
him.
tired of hearing it when they're not listening in the first place?
Oh. Roasted.
I mean, it's my podcast. For the record, he is 90-11 overall as a head coach.
All right, I was 3 games short.
Now that we know that Cameron Rising is playing,
Week 1?
is going to be playing. Let's assume he's 100%. We put an asterisk on the season. Can
Okay.
we repick
Yeah.
their
Yeah,
schedule?
let's do it with Roberto. Let's repick it with Roberto.
Robert, feel free to disagree or whatever.
It's encouraged. Yeah, I will.
Okay, they open the season 8:31, Florida. Is that a neutral site game? No,
No.
that was a home and home.
It's at home.
Yes,
I don't even see. Where are they on here? Did you erase them?
I erased them.
Okay. All right.
just one
I'm going to say it's a win at home against Florida.
Okay. And what do you mean were they on here? On the pod topics?
Yeah. On how because I had every team. I have the
Oh,
record.
I didn't know you had that. I had spreadsheets set up.
Scroll down, bro.
You scroll down,
Okay.
bro.
No. So I'll add them. Clearly, I didn't add them. So okay, I'll do that now.
All right. Well, there you go.
All right.
So,
So glad we're organized around here.
hey, it's what we do. They're at Baylor week 2.
Robert, you want to take that one?
I mean, they're gonna beat Baylor.
All right. So they're 2-0. They're beating Baylor.
Then they're home against Weber State
Oh, come on.
at 2 p.m.
Don't ask us that. That's a
Okay,
loss.
then
2
they're
p.m.
home. Yeah, 2 p.m. See, Robert.
Isn't that noon?
And we wonder why there's not a TV deal going down.
Well,
Yeah.
well, if it's I don't know, they're home or is Utah? Utah's not West Coast, so they're mountain.
Yeah, I think they're
so they're 2 hours behind.
Right, so it's a noon
for,
game.
It's noon for them. I
but
guess
not for
for
the
us,
people
yeah.
that matter.
Who's the people that matter?
The East Coast.
The East Coast.
Right, but no, that's a perfect. Isn't that
Jinx.
a perfect time slot? Because
No.
because you can start that game on another on your side
You're
TV. You can start a 2 p.m. game while your noon game's finishing, and then flip it
People
over.
aren't like us, though. People don't just have side TVs to watch Weber State and Utah,
On the
hustle it
Pac-12
out
network.
at 2 p.m.
All right. We're starting to get this going. 3-0. Utah's going to be at 2 p.m. on a Saturday.
I'm going to pull up that schedule here real quick in a second. They're versus UCLA the week next.
I think that's a win. I think UCLA is kind of
They should beat them.
struggling this year. Yeah.
Okay, hold on. Give me a second. No, where's my?
Well, because I'm an idiot. Because I have Utah in the under the Pac-12 or under the Big 12. They're not a Big 12 school yet.
They're not a Big 12 school yet, Micaiah. Yeah, that's going to be the issue. The 16th of October, September. Okay, hold on. It's week 3 that they're playing them.
Where are we
Weber
gonna
State.
go?
I want to go over here the other games. Oh, there's other 2 p.m. games. So Utah, Weber State, NC State, VMI.
Oh,
Eastern
yeah.
Michigan,
There we go.
I'm tuning in there.
Eastern Michigan, UMass.
Yes.
Temple, Norfolk State, Ball State, Indiana State. 2:30 p.m. on Peacock, Notre Dame, Central Michigan. But you also have these 3:30 p.m. Listen, I'm just go with it.
I'm going with
Georgia
it.
and South Carolina at 3:30.
Oh, well, there you go. I mean, so
North Carolina, Minnesota is a 3:30
so
game.
Notre
that
Dame
week.
tried to. I forgot that Notre Dame starts its time at 2:30.
They try
their
to make
home
these
games.
2:30 things happen,
Yeah.
and they need to stop trying.
and it just doesn't work.
You can't make fetch come back, Stacy.
What?
It's part of a Mean Girls quote. Okay, just go with it.
Oh, okay.
We're renaming the podcast to just go with it. Except I'm pretty sure that's already taken. All right, Oregon State, who Micaiah wants to. Never mind. He thinks that he's really high on this year.
I love Oregon State.
You like the Ulalungale.
Butchered that name. Robert, what do you think about Utah and Oregon State?
Is it at Oregon State
It is at Oregon State.
at night?
Yes. Well, it's 6 their time.
That's a 9 p.m. kickoff. Stop it! Oh my gosh, it's so late.
I mean, that would be the one that Oregon State would win, but I'm going to go with Utah.
All right, going full Utah here.
All right, Cal.
Come on.
It's a win.
Cal's Wilcox, their coach. I don't know what his first name is. Pac-12 exit sad, likely preventable, according to Adam Rittenberg.
Well, he's not wrong. He's getting a Cal education, so that's good. Because he's terrible at coaching, so the least he can do is just get an education from them.
At USC.
I think they lose that one. I think USC beats them.
Yeah,
So that's your first loss that you're giving to Utah.
Yeah, I mean, like I said in that episode, you beat Lincoln Riley once, you might beat him twice. You ain't beating him 3 times.
You know who beat him 3 times? Northwestern. Okay. Versus Oregon. The next week.
At
I
Oregon,
think that's going to be the one where they lose that one, just because they're coming off a tough game. Very well could be a tough, close game, like a heartbreak game, and then the turn against a team like Oregon, who might be a little bit better this year than they were last year. With Bo Nix back for his 8th year?
Yes, he's back for his 10th year.
Yeah, so I'll go with Oregon.
But he's already graduated, so he already has one leg up on Stetson Bennett. So that's good. You're wrong. They're gonna beat Oregon. They're 7-1 at that point in time. If it was in Eugene, that's one thing. But they're in Salt Lake City or wherever the F they play?
Yeah, Salt Lake City.
Oh,
Arizona
okay.
State the week after.
That's a win.
Yeah, easy dub.
At Washington, so in Seattle.
Night game.
To be determined.
Washington wins that one.
Simeon, what do you still have it up? What their old record was? What we used to have?
I'll pull it up here in a second.
Because if it's at Washington, I'm going to say that's a loss.
Sorry, hold on, I have it here.
Robert, what'd you say? They're losing that one?
Yeah, Washington wins.
Utah, we had them beating Florida, losing to Baylor, beating Weber State, losing to UCLA. This was before Cameron Rising obviously came back. Losing to Oregon State, beating Cal, beating USC, beating Oregon, beating Arizona State, losing to Washington,
Yeah, that's what I thought.
and then beating Arizona and Colorado, which I think is fair to assume that they're going to beat Arizona and Colorado. Even I said that they were beating Colorado. And I think that a coach makes all of the difference.
So
Colorado's
Robert,
going to go to a bowl game this year.
You got them at 9-3. I got them at 10-2, which they finished the last 2 years at. So very very respectable there from both things. I just can't wait until Colorado only wins like a game and a half. Their one game's probably going to be so bad they're just going to suspend it halfway through and just be like, nah, you each get a half win.
How
Move
many
on.
yards is UTSA going to throw for this year? Between 1 and 1 billion? Because I'm thinking it's going to be close to 1 billion.
Yeah. I mean, that's what they do.
5,500 yards.
Do we need to do a live stream watching a UTSA game?
I don't know. Do they play anyone interesting this year?
Yeah, you picked them as the highest scoring game. They play against Tennessee this year.
Against Tennessee? When did they play against Tennessee?
I am trying to find that information out right now for
And
you.
does Michigan also play at that same time?
I'm sure they do, knowing our luck.
Those are the
Tennessee,
two most
UTSA,
crucial
that sounds
questions.
like a 1:00 game, which means Michigan will probably play. No,
Dude,
Michigan I think
no.
will play at noon.
No. Dude, that's a 2 p.m. game. Tennessee, UTSA, 2 p.m. 2 p.m. solid.
They're not a Pac-12 school.
The other annoying time, 6 p.m. I hate 6 p.m. starts as well.
I'm trying
Yeah.
to eat.
And the SEC will do a lot of they'll do like the Vandy and the Kentucky game
Yeah,
at
it's
6
Mississippi
p.m.
State and Vanderbilt. It's never like, it's not like, Alabama, Auburn starting at 6 p.m. Like, no.
9:23.
Can you imagine them starting at a weird time? Like,
Starting at 4,
Yeah, something like
the
that.
middle of the day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's when
The
the
normal
SEC
time, you mean? Because 12 and 4 are the NFL games.
No, the NFL games are 1 and 4, which again I have a problem with. It should be 12 and 3:30.
Or it could be 12 and 3. We could just try to speed up the game a little bit.
No, now you're asking
Michigan
too
plays Rutgers at 12 on the 23rd of September
much.
at home.
Yeah.
UTSA Tennessee on the 23rd is still to be determined.
Oh, it's a night game then.
Interesting.
They're favored by 90% according to the ESPN Power Index.
But how many points though are they favored by? And what's the over under?
Well, I don't know if ESPN has that information yet.
Dude, just scroll down to the bottom.
I did. It's not there.
Well, get on it, ESPN.
Well, let me just see if I can find.
Okay, so what over under would you be comfortable with? Let's just set a number at 85.5. Anybody want to answer that question, or just
I was
dead
letting
silence?
Robert think for a second because I'm looking it up.
77.5.
You'd be comfortable with 77.5. Over under
Yeah.
of that. Which
Yeah.
one?
Oh, I mean, over. But I think they'll finish in between that 77 to like 88 range, like somewhere
do
in that gap.
You do remember that that Tennessee's defense was real bad last year.
Yeah. However, though, I have them making it to the SEC championship, so I need them to be
Yeah.
a little bit better.
Yeah,
this
well,
year, so.
you don't use all your brain cells sometimes, and that's okay.
True
The
that.
redness.
No one is putting money lines or any sort of money out on this game this far out. It's a week 4 game, to be fair. We got like 8 weeks until then.
Who are
Yeah, more, well,
I was gonna look up real quick who UTSA is playing because that also determines.
so UTSA is in the American this year.
Right.
This is the first year that they're in the American. We didn't cover the American too much.
Okay, so they play Houston, Texas State, Army before
I
that.
could have given you
Houston,
this. Yeah.
Houston, they're scoring a gaggle. Texas State's a gaggle, and Army, it goes one of two ways, right? Their UTSA's defense is pretty bad, so they might not have the ball a lot. So they're probably scoring, at this point in time, 32 points a game. Tennessee's playing Virginia, Austin Prey, and Florida.
That's about what they're actually averaging. They're averaging about 32, 34 points a game.
So the over-under 77 might actually be spot on, Robert, but I'm hammering that over there. Hammering that over there. See what I did there? Do you have any more questions for Roberto?
12th in the nation in total offense. UTSA is 12th in the nation
Was.
in total offense.
It's not the same group.
Is.
Well, okay, they were last year,
Frank
sure.
Harris is back for, you know how Bo Nix has been around for 8 seasons?
Yeah.
Frank Harris is basically a 32-year-old man at this point.
Slinging the rock.
He's just flinging the rock in the Alamo Dome.
Just
You can't hate on it. Flicking the bean.
Oh, my
flinging the proverbial bean.
Tossing that bean. Oh, my.
Okay. Yeah, we have like 1 or 2 more just real quick before we wrap up. As I can't literally bring it up. I think we did the Big Ten. You picked the Big Ten. You picked the SEC. You picked the ACC. You got the Big 12 left, sir.
This year I am going
Colorado, probably.
Texas.
Definitely going to win it all.
Texas, Cincinnati.
Oh, my goodness.
What? Did the man just say the word Cincinnati and championship game? What? They are opposed
No.
Luke Fickell. There's no way they're not losing most of their games.
Yeah, it's the Big 12.
Yeah, and the state of Kansas decided they wanted to play football for the first time ever.
They play football every other year, though.
Kansas?
Kansas is not going to be good for the next 15 years.
No, Kansas winning 8 games this year.
Kansas State has a good year, then an okay year, then a bad year, then an okay year, then a good year. They ride the wave.
No, bro. No. Kansas
Isn't
winning
Kansas
8
State
games.
returning? Isn't Kansas State returning most of their starters from last year?
Returning their quarterback, yeah.
That's a huge thing, and I believe Kansas is doing the same thing. You're also forgetting about Oklahoma. You're forgetting about Oklahoma State, the reigning champions, TCU. Now, granted, yeah, they lost most of everybody they have. Who
Forgetting
knows
about
Texas
Houston, Texas Tech?
Texas Tech is a better team than Cincinnati is.
You know what? Youth also think BYU is going 9-3.
I think they're going 3-9.
I also think Colorado's going to have 6 wins.
Yes.
So
West Virginia is my sneaky team to make the college football playoff. They're my midnight dark horse. They are so dark you cannot see anything. It's pitch black.
I mean, it is West Virginia. There's a lot of coal there, you know? Got to get covered in the coal dust. Anyway, I think there's a racist thing in there. I am leaving before I get canceled. Guys, this has been the 4th and 1 podcast. Join us next week where we're going to try to pick some teams and make you some money. Who knows?
Wash your hands, you filthy animals. See you later.